afternoon, folks, and happy National Donut Day. Steve Charlton here, coming to you with another dose of wisdom in the realm of wealth and money. At Wisdom Financial, it's our mission to provide you with the holistic financial planning that you need and uncover the truth about achieving financial success. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's topic to help guide you on your journey to financial freedom. Today's update provides insights from three of the biggest and baddest banks out there: Deutsche Bank, Morgan Stanley, and Bank of America. For Donut Day, according to Deutsche Bank analysts, tighter credit conditions are set to usher in a whole new wave of defaults and lead to an even deeper recession as the harsher economic and business environment finally puts an end to the lending boom of the last 20 years. On Wednesday, they released information in regards to their research, and their analysts pointed to the boom in credit that spanned the past 2 decades, with financial institutions ramping up their lending because markets were enjoying ultra-low interest rates and there was a steady economic growth. Well, that era has come to an end with tighter lending standards and, of course, significantly higher interest rates. And the onslaught of defaults appears to have already started, with U.S. high-yield bond defaults rising to 2.1%, up 100% from last year, and U.S. loan defaults rising to 3.1%, up almost 250% over last year. You see, at their peak, high-yield bond defaults could rise to 9%. Meanwhile, U.S. loan defaults could rise to 11.3%. It's very important, folks, because that's close to the all-time high of 12% that we all experienced during the great financial crisis. Their analysts said, quote, "Our cycle indicators signal a default wave is imminent, and the tightest Fed and ECB policy in 15 years is colliding with the high leverage that's been built upon stretched margins," end quote. And they're calling defaults a near-term risk over the next 6 to 12 months. Tighter credit conditions are also signaling that a deeper recession is set to follow at the end of the credit boom. Deutsche Bank's U.S. credit recession gauge is flashing a 35 to 40%, folks, a 35 to 40% chance the economy will enter a deeper downturn. This is the highest reading since the onset of the pandemic. According to their analysts, they said today this model is increasingly telling us to sell, end quote. Whereas Wall Street has been bracing for a credit crunch ever since the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank earlier this year, which of course has set in turn a chain of lender failures that have caused other banks to pull back. And banks have already started to tighten up lending by the most they ever have on record. This according to data from Morgan Stanley, which in turn makes a deeper recession even more likely in 2023. A full-blown recession combined with a credit crunch could result in a $1 trillion corporate debt default. This according to analysts at Bank of America. Folks, these are real-life issues that are about to happen to us, and we've been blessed to have been given some advance notice. We're not always given advance notice. Even in today's day and age of data and social media and instantaneous information, there's also selling that goes along with this stuff. And we've never been in a better time in history to be more properly prepared and in advance for when these things do occur and take advantage of them instead of being taken to the cleaners. It's a very simple question. If the market were to go down 20 to 30% tomorrow, are you okay with that in your portfolio? Even if it took 5 to 7 years to get back to zero, to get to even. Because understand, when you look at the market, right now it's being propped up by a handful of stocks. If you took those stocks out, the S&P would actually be down on the year instead of up 7%. So think about that. Without those stocks, what does your portfolio look like? Do you even own any of those stocks? There's a reason this thing is called the House of Cards. We understand that a recession occurs on a relatively common basis in the history of the market, so we don't get upset at the market. These things happen. Typically, every 7 years, we have a downturn of 39.5%, and it normally takes 3.5 years to recover. Do you really believe that losing 20 to 40% of your assets every 7 years, when you're no longer bringing in a high living wage, while distributing your assets, RMDs, is the wisest plan of attack? You've probably heard me say that before because it's facts, it's history. We should be prepared for these things. We should be understanding that these things are happening now so that we can be properly prepared in advance. This one just has a little bit different feel to it because of all of the things that are coming together at one time and have never converged together before. all of these indicators going off at the same time. They've happened before individually, but they've never all happened together at the same time. We now have advanced notice of understanding that things are going to be messy for a little while. And if things are going to be messy for a while, wouldn't you prefer to sit on the sidelines and receive guaranteed growth while that all plays out and then capture all the ups on the backside of this thing? Because you do have the opportunity to do just that. You just might not have that option to do that with your current relationship or maybe your current access to what you may or may not be able to utilize and leverage inside of the platform that you're using now. If you want to see alternative options that you have available out there to you that you might not know about or have available on your platform or with your current broker relationship, by all means, let's have a 15-minute conversation. We talk all the time about being independent. Being independent means you're our CEO. We have access to everything out there. There are no limits. We don't limit our clients. We don't limit ourselves either to just a handful of stocks or bonds or mutual funds or certain ideas of how every portfolio should be designed based off of what makes us the most money. That's what all the other advisors out there do. We put you in a position of power to have success regardless of what the market is doing. And if you're in retirement or near retirement, understand if you're not putting more money in while you're selling off more units when the market's down, and that happens 2 or 3 more times, maybe 4 more times in the next 10 to 15 year window, which most of you say you're going to be retired for 20, 30 years, you're risking losing half to 2/3 of your portfolio if you're not structured properly, if you're not allocated properly. That's not me telling you this. This is math telling you this. This is the S&P telling you this. This is the history of the market telling you this. This is some of the largest banks that exist out there telling you this. Folks, if you had $1 million and retired in 2000, by the time 2010 to 2011 came around, you only had about $350,000 left. And that doesn't have to be the case. You should have had more than $1 million. If you're understanding that when you move into the retirement phase where you're in preservation and distribution mode, which many of you are about to be that are listening to this, you have to switch your formulaic response when you're not putting more and more money in because you're no longer having a high living wage and a match. You have to position yourself to focus on income, which is dividends and interest. That's the power that you have available to you. You just might not be allocated for that currently. Most that we speak with are not. So if you want to learn about the power of the I, the income in your formula, and how to keep yourself whole through all retirement, no matter what happens to the markets, hit that link down below and jump on our calendar. I trust you found this information insightful. Our content typically does cover various aspects of financial planning and strategies and economic trends to help you make informed decisions before things go awry. If you have any questions or need guidance on maintaining financial stability regardless of the economic climate, let's start with a 15-minute conversation. And let's give you the peace of mind of knowing that you will never outlive your money, regardless of recessions, bear markets, or any of the craziness that's going on out there now and perpetually. I look forward to those conversations. As always, thank you so much for plugging in and allowing us to continue to offer market updates and advanced warnings. Given we routinely do stay 6 months plus ahead of the curve, these allow our clients to properly protect themselves in advance and not lose money that may take them 3 to 7 years to recover when they're no longer bringing any more money. And we hope that this helps you accomplish the same. Until then, have an amazing rest of your donut day. Have an incredible weekend, and we look forward to having to talk with you next time. Thank you, and God bless.